Parton. Here. Crum.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
The invocation will be given by Pastor Elizabeth Gumming, Resurrection Lutheran Church.
Good evening. Let us pray. Most holy and gracious God, we ask you to send your Holy Spirit to be among us this evening. Be among the people in the city of Haysville, those that work on our council, those that are residents here, those that own businesses here. During this season of Lent, as we journey toward the cross, remind us that you journey with us in all the things that we do. Please send your Spirit to be with the people that have gathered here this evening, that they might have fruitful conversation for the good of your will. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
But first, I'd like to add an agenda item to tonight's agenda. This would come under item 3B, under introduction of ordinances and resolution. This would be a resolution to support a state-owned and operated mental health hospital in the Sedgwick County, Kansas region. Councilman Crum?
I make a motion that we add item 3B, a resolution to support state-owned mental hospital, to the agenda for tonight.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Rardon.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have the presentation and approval of minutes. A minutes, February 14th, 2022, and there is one correction. Item 6C under other business. It should say Mayor Kessler presented the memorandum and not Mayor Armstrong.
Oh, I skipped mine.
I'm sorry.
Am I looking at the wrong
What's that?
agenda? Was it special order business first, or did I have the wrong agenda?
That's the minutes and then special order business.
Okay. My bad. Sorry.
Councilperson Parton.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of February 14th with the change.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Oh, sorry. Barkley.
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Rardon.
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner.
Yes.
Parton.
Yes.
Crum.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have the special order of business. VFW Post 6957 with the presentation of the Haysville Police Department Officer of the Year.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for your time and allowing us to do this here. My name is Dan Hubert. I'm a post trustee with VFW 6957 here in Haysville. Once a year we get the honor to go through different applications and go through a bunch of wonderful officers. We had one officer stand out this year, and we would like to bring you forward, Jessica Starnes, thank you. What we have here is a certificate for you. I'm going to read it so everyone can hear it. Certificate of Appreciation awarded to Officer Jessica D. Starnes, Officer of the Year, Haysville, Kansas. In grateful recognition of unyielding adherence to the highest ideals of law enforcement in maintaining, preserving, and protecting the lawful rights of all citizens. Signed by our post commander, Dick Brown, and Quartermaster Larry Tyson in the back. So on behalf of VFW Post 6957, we'd like to present this to you, and thank you very much for what you do. Absolutely. She would like a picture with us here. You're in the middle.
Okay.
Congratulations, and if you'd like to make a speech, you're welcome to make a speech. All right, we'll move ahead to item number 1, citizens to be heard. We have Lucy Capps from 8801 South Sense Drive regarding the use of Riggs Park for a Ukraine fundraiser.
Yeah, Lucy Capps, I'm a resident here in Haysville. So I'm wanting to I go to St. Cecilia Catholic Church, and I had actually made a phone call. I believe I spoke to you, Mayor, about possibly bringing the churches together for a fundraiser. And I did talk to the president of that association, did not sound interested at all. And then he said he'd talk about calling back, and I never heard from him. So I've gone forward without him. And so I want permission to use Riggs Park, the stage area and all, and we'll use it for the Diocese of Wichita, the Catholic Church. So it'd be a lot of these people have never been to Haysville, so I thought I'd just tell them how great Haysville was if they came out here. But we're doing it as a fundraiser. We'll have praise and worship. There'll be no alcohol. Catholics and no alcohol. And we're going to have a couple of speakers. I have a speaker from Ukraine, has her family there, and another speaker from Croatia that's going to talk, and we're just going to do a love offering. And this is open to all the Catholics in the Sedgwick County, and every church will be contacted. So I'm hoping that I can get at least 500 people. I don't know if I can, or if I can, but I do have some groups that are coming in to sing, and I'm wanting it for probably about 3 hours. I mean, we probably need for setup and everything, I'm going to say from 3 to 9, but we probably only need it from maybe 5 to 8, as far as people coming. So I wanted to see if that was possible, that if we could get that, if we have permission to park there by the middle school and on the streets there. And I don't know if we need an officer to make sure that people don't park wrong, but everything that we're doing and all the groups that are coming are all donating their time. So that's what I'm asking.
Can you say what date?
Oh, I'm sorry, April the 24th. It's on a Sunday. That's called Divine Mercy Sunday, so we were going to do it for that. So regardless if the war is over today or tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of displaced people and a lot of need. So anyway, and it's going to go through, I believe we're going to use Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham's donation, either that or there's one with Catholic Charities, but I'm kind of leaning towards Samaritan's Purse because it goes directly to the people affected. So anyway. I just would like to know sooner than later so that I can really start, because I've only got about 5 weeks to get everything on board and get our bishop on board and to do that.
Councilman Barkley?
I'm new, so just a question here. If it's a peaceful assembly, then under the Constitution, does she need our consent to gather at a public place? Under the Constitution, you should be able to assemble peacefully.
She's asking to use the stage. So the
Is that
stage
not
is normally,
public?
the stage is normally rented out.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm hoping we can get that waived or anything else, or if we can get extra trash cans. I don't know. I'll know closer to the date how many people are coming. I hope I get 1,000. I doubt I'll get that, but I think I can get a pretty good crowd, and we can make a lot of good for the cause.
Councilman Benner?
If there's no further discussion, I'd make a motion that we allow the usage of the park on the date requested and that we waive all the fees.
Second.
Mayor,
Yes.
I think, Party of the 060 is the Saturday right before that, so I'm just not aware if the setup for 060 would be taken care of by that following Sunday, the next day. The only concern I would have, since we haven't discussed it internally yet.
The day before.
Yeah.
Day before,
Just the day prior?
Yeah, Saturday and then Sunday would be this event.
the party in the 060 was April 23rd, right?
Mm-hmm. How late does that run?
9 o'clock p.m.
We'll clean up fast.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Crum?
Did you say that you didn't think you probably needed until about 3 to start setting up for it?
Yeah, I figured if we could set up between 1 and 3. I'm hoping to start, I'm really waiting, I have a meeting this Wednesday with the bishop, but I'm thinking probably start it between 4 and 5 and be over with by 7, about 3 hours in there. But yeah, if we could set up about 1 or 2, so we could do our sound checks and the groups that are coming to sing and the speakers, yeah.
Tony, what all would you be concerned about not being cleaned up by then?
One, just be the visual aspects of the park. You know, I think last year we got maybe, was it 1,500 people for those 6-0, trash. Also, he's getting fencing for the bandstand area for the beer garden.
Just getting them to come back and tear it down.
Hey, we're Catholics, you can leave the beer garden.
Do you think there's going to be anything impeding the stage?
No, because then they're using it kind of for the same aspect, I guess. But the snow fence will be up the entire bandstand, and then all the trash carts, any other stuff that may be still left over from the 060 party.
Do you think there's any way you could work with her to see if maybe they could even keep the trash cans out another day and they could cover part of the realm or something? Maybe that would take care of that, and maybe restrooms, if we've got those.
Yeah, I mean, the restrooms will be available anyway, but I guess the trash carts, as long as they're not full, I mean, I'm sure the trash company won't pick them up till the next business day, which would be Monday.
Correct.
Okay.
So, but if they're full, we don't have means of dumping a trash cart, I guess, like the Fall Fest with the trash truck.
I don't think we'll have that much trash, to be quite honest, so.
So you think the stage area itself, though, should be relatively clear?
Yeah,
But it
besides
may
the
not-
picnic tables and bleachers that we brought over for the stage for that.
But it may not be in the most perfect visual shape.
Jesus is fine with that.
That's all I got.
Councilman Walters?
Yeah, kind of along those lines, I was wondering what things are you needing to set up? Are you putting up benches or what?
No, I think I'm gonna tell everyone to just bring a blanket and your lawn chairs. I just have to set up a sound system.
So you're basically just looking for grass
Mhm.
and a
Mhm.
stage?
And a toilet if we need it, and if they, I mean, I can't see us having much trash. Some people might bring some food or a picnic or something, but I really don't expect much more than
And
that.
Tony, you're saying there's picnic tables in that area?
Yeah, so picnic tables, bleachers for the Party 060 concert and events for that. So those will be there. We won't grab those till Monday morning.
That's fine. So we can use those along, are they sitting right up front to where we couldn't have sat behind them and they'd still be able to see, or?
They'll be a little bit further set back on the hill.
Okay, so
They
people
won't
can
be
sit
right
down in the
Correct.
front area. Perfect.
You may have to load from the side
Okay.
of the stage and not the front.
Okay.
All right, so what I'm understanding is you'd like to use April 24th, starting around 1 o'clock or so, to set up, to go through how long, what's the motion for?
I think 9 at the latest,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna say 8 or
3 to
9.
9,
3 to 9.
3 to 9, okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Rodden,
Yes.
Ewert.
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Harden,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes?
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. You're all invited.
All right, next we have item 2, approval of licenses and bonds. Refuse hauler's license renewal for waste management at 4330 West 31st Street South. Anybody like to approve the renewal? Councilman Benner?
Make a motion, we approve the refuse hauler's license.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Rodden,
Yes.
Ewert,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Harden,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes?
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have item 3, introduction to ordinances and resolutions. We have item A, resolution providing for the property tax rebates for certain property within the city of Haysville, Kansas. And in your packet, you should have a memorandum that shows the approximate timeline to include any tax rebates. If there's any questions, staff will be able to answer those. Councilperson Burton?
I just have an opinion. I just feel like I have to pay my taxes every year, and whoever did my house originally had to pay taxes all the way through. I can see giving them the first year because they're building, but once they're done building, they're most likely gonna have full rentals. So I have a problem with the tax rebate for 5 years.
Good. What would council like to do? Councilman Walters?
Just a clarification, so the tax rebate is for the person building the apartment, the 2 duplexes and 4plexes? for the 5 years, is that what we're understanding? I'm trying to understand it from, not the people they don't own it, so, okay, just
Right.
trying to understand, clarification.
These would be rentals.
Yeah, okay. No,
Councilman Crum?
I do appreciate the timeline on here. I'm gonna support this mainly because one of the reasons that he's given for doing this is to be able to keep it at a local bank. If he has to go bigger, then he can't keep it at a local bank, and I'd like us to try to keep our money here, so I see it as a valuable tool to help with not only filling an empty spot, but also helping a financial building in the area, so. With that, if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve the tax rebate or tax
The resolution.
resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Barkley?
Does the tax break start at the completion of each unit or at completion of each section?
phase.
Phase.
Each phase.
At the completion of each phase. Can they start the second phase before the first phase is complete?
I believe what you want to do is start the second phase after they start renting the first phase.
So if they are not, if they're not done with the first phase, if it's not completed, and they start the second phase, then technically they don't have to start paying property tax, Haysville property tax, till they're done with the first phase, right?
Right, and then that's just on that phase.
And then just on that phase, so technically,
As each
just for
phase,
easy numbers, if there was 10 units in a phase, you could finish 9.5, start your second phase, and not even start to pay property taxes on the first phase.
yeah, because you wouldn't pay property
If I was
taxes
an
for 5
investor,
years.
not, I have money, that's what I'd do. Don't finish that first phase. Am I understanding that correct, or am I wrong?
Yeah, as long as the phase isn't finished, then the clock doesn't start.
I could be wrong, go ahead and explain it to me.
So each building that gets done, once it's done and sent to the county, when we send the building permit saying that their building's done, the next tax year, that's when that one's gonna go on. That'll be the first year for that one. If there's any games being played, that's gonna be a problem. And I don't think the developer who's in the room is gonna be playing a game like that, but that's not gonna work. Once each building's done, that one's going on.
So it's the completion of each unit.
Yeah, we're not gonna be waiting 10 years to start charging.
Okay, it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha.
That's not the way
That's
this
not the way it's
reads.
written, it's written by phases.
Yeah, it's written by phases, Will.
You looking at the resolution or that memo?
Now, the resolution
Looking at the
says unit-
timeline.
unit.
So on the resolution, if you look, you back here so you can hear me. On the resolution, it says the tax rebate will begin for each completed unit the first full tax year following the year of completion. So that's each unit's the building there.
Yeah.
I think the timeline's just there to give us an idea of how long it's gonna take to get those units in.
The timeline in the memo is the expected completion of each phase. For the resolution to be
The
what we use
resolution's each
for
unit.
the tax rate.
Councilman Bitter?
So my question was, the clock starts ticking with the completion of each unit. So there are several phases and several units within each phase. Who keeps track of all that? I mean, I guess since this is our taxes that we're prorating out, that has to happen internally here in Haysville. Somewhere, is there a spreadsheet or something?
I'll keep track of it, just like we've done on other tax rebates that we've done. We've kept track of it and then check the county record to make sure the tax payments were made on time. So we do that before we would issue any of the rebates.
Yeah, because it doesn't start taking until December
Right. And
of that year.
it could potentially, this could go out for a while.
Yeah, it's
And with a lot of different people being in different phases of the different rebates.
similar but a little bit different than when we did the NRP, Neighborhood Revitalization Plan on Main Street. Each different building there was completed at a different time, and we had to track them all the way through. So I don't think we'll have any issues tracking the completion of the buildings.
Any further discussion? Councilman Walters?
Yeah, I know we talked about this before, but just looking at what was presented to us again today, it talks about the time frame for completion of the first 36 units as phase 1, and each phase basically is going to be taxed after the phase is completed. So it's not by unit according to what we're seeing here.
So are you once again looking at the memo versus the resolution? Because the memo just gives the outline of what we think the construction phases are going to be, when they're going to be completed. But when you look at the resolution, which would guide our tax rebate, in section 2 of the resolution, it calls out completed units. It doesn't talk about phases.
I'd give my opinion on this. I think that it's a good idea to bring this business into Haysville and help, but I think the way it's written and presented leaves a lot of room for error and playing around. And I think what we probably should do, as opinion, is send it back for rewriting so that's specific what happens if, because right now you're saying, well, I don't think they'll do that, but what if they do?
Well, if you look at the resolution, how it's written in section 2, it talks about the individual units being completed. So the phasing doesn't matter. If you completed 9.5 of the buildings in phase 1, it wouldn't matter because the language in the resolution is what guides it, not the memo showing the expected building time frame.
So you're confident that it's with each individual unit as they are built and then rented out per,
Well,
so for the first phase of 36, it's each one of those, they'll start the tax.
and it doesn't even contemplate when they're rented out. I don't care if they're rented out. So
Okay.
that's on the
So
developer
as
to
long
get
as
it
they're
rented out.
finished, each unit, that's when, for that portion, so we're gonna have 100 different timelines
Yes.
going forward.
Yeah, but it's probably not going to be 100 because the units, there are 2 units in a duplex, 4 units in a quadplex. So,
But it says 36, 32, and 32. That's 100 units.
right. So each building, a duplex will have 2 units,
I got you.
quadplex will have 4
Oh,
units.
so maybe 50 units.
Yeah, I don't
50,
remember the exact number.
Yeah, okay. All right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Varden,
Yes.
Ewert,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
No.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have item 3B. It's a resolution to support a state-owned and operated mental health hospital in the Sedgwick County, Kansas region. I should have the resolution in front of you. Councilman Crum?
Who brought this resolution to us, just out of curiosity?
This started at the Sedgwick County Association of Cities. There was a meeting this last Saturday, and it was brought to us then from Laura Rainwater and a couple of the county commissioners. Pete Meisner, I think, and Lacey Cruz was also there. And there was a program that talked about it.
Okay, because this is solely needed.
Topics.
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution to support a state-owned and operated mental health hospital in Sedgwick County as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Varden,
Yes.
Ewert,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, next we have item 4, notices and communication, governing body announcements. Councilman Crum?
Going on at the library this month. First off, the rest of this week, they're not having any of the PAT story times because of spring break, so. But coming up on the 17th, they are having a St. Patrick's Day movie matinee. And the movie is an old Disney classic that I honestly haven't even heard of. It's Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
You're
Kind of
old
been,
enough to know that.
looks kind of interesting. That may have been before my time. That one didn't ring a bell with me.
Oh, my goodness.
Also coming up on the next week on Tuesday and Thursday, we'll start having the teachers, the PAT story times at 10 and 11. toddler times at 10:05. And then there's a library board meeting on the 31st. I believe they did run out of pies today. They had a pie sale for Pie Day. And then coming up on April 1st at 10:30, they will have a play, The Three Little Pigs. That's put on by PAT as well. That's what's going on at the library.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I have a few from the Senior Center. Wednesday, March 16th, commodity distribution at 1 p.m. Thursday, March 17th, bingo at 12:30 p.m. Monday, March 21st, chair yoga at 10 a.m. Wednesday, March 23rd, donuts, coffee, and conversation at 8:30 a.m. Saturday, March 26th, friends and family breakfast at 10 a.m. The Haysville Hustle had a considerably higher number than this time last year. Last year, February of 2021, total rides of 44 and new riders was 11 compared to this February, which is total rides 249 with 10 new riders registered. That's a lot more than last year.
Yeah.
All right, next we have item 4B, memo regarding utility billing account write-offs. C, email from Cox Communications, channel changes, and email from Cox for renewal discussion. Next, item 5, old business, we have none. Item 6, other business, consideration of Coppertail preliminary and final plats. We have Jonathan from Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. The Coppertail edition, the Planning Commission approved the plats for this for the city of Haysville on February 24th at their regular meeting. The staff report is in your packets, and the applicant is here to answer any questions you may have.
What would council like to do? Councilman Crum?
Make a motion, we approve the plat for Coppertail Edition as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Ewart. Yes. Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have B, consideration of Sanchez preliminary and final plats. I believe Savoy, are they here? Or Jonathan?
About it. Also on February 24th, the Planning Commission approved the plats for the Sanchez edition. This is just outside of city limits, in our area of influence, and if there's any questions for you guys.
Councilman Crum?
Whenever we have a development come in just our area of influence, do we ever approach them to find out if they need utilities from us and if they're interested in coming in to the city with services? Do we have any kind of outreach for that?
Usually if they request them, then we approach them for that. This one is kind of far out there for services and this one.
Okay, I was just curious if it was something that we tried to jump on and try to add some stuff. If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the consideration for the Sanchez preliminary and final plats.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Sanchez preliminary and final plats. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Warden,
Yes.
Ewart.
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Parton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Next, we have C, consideration of insurance renewal. We have Jeff Engel from ICI.
Hello, council and Mr. Mayor and city staff. Thank you for placing your trust in ICI. We have a couple of highlight pages that we put in that was put in the packet. ICI did go and search for proposals from several different carriers. Obviously EMC, the carrier you're currently with, and then also from Travelers, and then a third company named Intact Insurance. It used to be One Beacon. We have two options from EMC, one option from Travelers, and then Intact Insurance. They declined it. They said they couldn't write law enforcement liability in Kansas any longer, and I forwarded Will a press release from literally this morning. They actually went out of business in this in their municipality division. So anyways, it's a good thing we didn't have them working on it. But so a couple of high notes. EMC did raise the minimum property deductible from $3,000 per occurrence to $5,000 per occurrence. They did that with all their cities. There were very few actually that were still as low as $3,000. You guys were one of the few left. So it's now at a $5,000 per occurrence deductible. So what that means is if the entire city gets hit by a tornado, it's a $5,000 deductible, not per building, it's for the whole city. Similarly, if one building has a claim, it's still a $5,000 deductible. You can see on the comparison sheet that EMC's options have considerably lower wind and hail deductibles than Travelers, and then conversely, Travelers has a much lower earthquake deductible, but it has a lower limit as well. There's a couple pricing changes that have affected things, but the other thing I did want to point out is that cyber insurance, which the city's been purchasing cyber insurance for quite a while. I'm sure you've seen the news. It continues to increase in cost this year. It almost doubled. It's still a small portion of your overall insurance portfolio. The one we're recommending this year is $8,399 per year, but one of the things I did point out in that is that there's some actual free services. It's just like free training on training your city employees and how to detect spam or phishing, and how to, just common sense things we call it cyber hygiene and practicing good cyber hygiene. And then possibly take an extra close look at all your utility related services. We're telling all of our municipalities to really pay attention to that. Oftentimes, a city will think, okay, we're doing really good. We've got computer systems that are up to date and everything, but then it's the equipment, because equipment, that runs utilities gets updated lots less frequency typically, and it may have older technology because it's so expensive to upgrade it. So just, it's a good idea to always be very cognizant of, what's out there in terms of finding inexpensive ways to protect the city for utility potential cyber attacks. But overall, our recommendation, ICI's recommendation, is that if you've got the comparison sheet in front of you, is to go with EMC proposal number 2. And the difference with that is that you'd actually have a $5,000 deductible for anything except wind and hail. And then in the case of wind and hail, you'd have a $10,000 deductible for that occurrence. We went and looked back. It had been, in the last 10 years, there had only been 2 claims filed for wind and hail. So considering the price difference on this, in terms of the savings annually, is just in doing that one deductible change is about $13,000. And so over the course of 10 years, you would have had 2 claims that had a higher deductible, but you would have been saving over $10,000 a year. So our recommendation is to go with EMC proposal number 2.
Councilperson Martin?
It may be a $10,000 difference, but that $32,000 in dividends is not guaranteed. And especially this year, with the way the stock market is, I don't look for us to get that kind of return on it. And it's been as low as $6,500. So that makes a difference when you're talking dollar-wise. And Travelers is $150 90,000 without worrying about having dividends or not.
Good. What would council like to do? Councilman Crum?
I got a couple of questions, because on the spreadsheet you gave us, some things are listed, they say excluded, and some things say included in schedule. Can you kind of tell me what those two things mean?
Yeah, so, trying to look at an example here on the excluded.
Scheduled signs, it says included in schedule on.
Right, okay, so, for instance, on scheduled signs, they're considered, this is insurance history here, so they're considered part of, they need to be covered like their mobile equipment because they're not at a specific address. And so there's a set amount that's in a schedule with the city that we update with Will and Angie, on a regular basis, that says here's the total amount of coverage you have included in your schedule. So there's a section on that for signs, there's a section for computer servers, because we have to insure those differently than we would insure a typical desk or something like that. And so there's separate schedules. Similarly to, we've got a schedule for all the like the Bobcats and the mobile equipment. But because they're something that is not a specific address or attached to a building, they're on an inland marine schedule. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then there's like excluded, there's at least a couple of them on travelers, and there's one on the medical payments from,
Yeah.
is.
So medical payments on general liability. So the best way to describe medical payments on a general liability policy is a grocery store, okay? So picture you're the owner of a grocery store and somebody slips and falls on a banana peel. What's the first thing you do? You're going to want to look at the footage and see if they really slipped and falled or if it was, just a farce. Medical payments, what they do is I call them, I'm on video, but I call them hush money, okay? It's basically like, okay, we'll pay the medical expenses of this claim as long as you release us from liability. And we won't even say if it's your liability or our liability that it is. So that's why they say it's a medical payment. The whole goal of it is to be able to pay if somebody does get injured and it's a minor injury and you're worried about them actually filing a lawsuit against the city, you would actually be able to say, okay, we'll pay your medical expenses if you don't file a lawsuit. Now, if they file a lawsuit, then, it goes against your full limit of your general liability policy, and it could be whatever the medical expenses are if they're over that amount. But it's a small amount that the insurance carrier's goal is. The city's not even announcing fault if you provide the payments of medical payments on coverage. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Councilman Orton?
Well, you said the wind and hail was 10,000 deductible?
So the option we're recommending, that's a good question. The option we're recommending is a $10,000 wind and hail deductible. That's for the whole city. So, if there's a large or a small tornado, God forbid, but a small tornado that impacts this building and the police station, then it's still just one deductible. If it hits multiple buildings, it's still one $10,000 deductible. Under the traveler's option, it's 1% or a minimum of $25,000. So 1%, right now, the city has a total amount of coverage of $36 million. So worst case scenario with the traveler's proposal, you could actually have a $360,000 deductible. And with the EMC scenario, worst case scenario, it would be $10,000. Okay. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
Councilman Crum?
I make a motion that we approve the EMC proposal number 2 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve option 2. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Raritan?
Yes.
Ewart?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Parton?
No.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
All right, next we have item D, consideration of revision to personnel manual. So if anybody's had a chance to look through the manual, or if you have any questions, staff can answer. Councilman Rardon?
I was trying to find it, and I can't find it now here, but if I recollect, quite a few years ago, I brought up about doing away with exit interviews, and I think council even took action on it to do away with that. And I was trying to find it in here, and there's so many to go through, but my opinion is exit interviews are absolutely worthless. They're time consuming, and they are of no value whatsoever, because if an employee's gonna leave, he's gonna leave and say what he wants. He's not gonna tell you exactly why he's leaving or why they're leaving. Most places that I've worked at, we have done away with exit interviews because they're of absolutely no value. So I couldn't find it in here because I was going to point it out, but I did find it in here. But I think that needs to be removed, because I think, like I said, I brought it up and I thought we voted on it to do away with it. And then I seen it in here again, and I thought, well, okay. And that's just my 2 cents worth.
Council member, if you wanted to look at it, it's on page 26, or if you're looking at the entire packet, it's on page 81 of the council packet, under resignations.
Well, I thought it was an 81, but I couldn't.
Councilman Crum?
I just have a couple of questions. The in section 2, we're changing a training period. We modified language to allow for a shorter training period. I didn't have a chance to actually look at what's that training period that we're trying to shorten.
So we've got the traditional 6-month probationary / training period. So if someone's had a lot of experience at another police force or in another wastewater treatment facility, then we're looking at shortening the training period for some of those employees that don't need to go through the full training period that we have.
Okay, and then at a couple of spots where we're changing, where it says added language stating that an employee must be in pay status for at least 50% of a month in order to accrue, and there's different things. This one I'm looking at is sick leave. In paid status, does that mean just like they're not on probation or something?
So
on leave without pay?
Yeah, and so the idea of it is if somebody hires in and they start on the 25th of March, they're not going to get a full day of sick leave for March because they were only here for 6 days.
Okay, but that doesn't mean that if somebody gets sick on the 10th day of March, that they're not going to be covered for March because they haven't been here at least half the month.
Right, so you're talking about if somebody was here, normal, working, and they get sick on the 10th, yeah, they're going to get their sick day.
Okay. And that was the work date again. I think that's all I had. And Councilman Rardon, I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe we took exit interviews out and then we turned around and put them back in a couple of years later.
I don't remember putting them back in, but that doesn't mean anything, because I do remember bringing it up and we did remove it.
I was thinking that, but I was thinking that about 2 years ago we put them back in.
Tony looked it up, and we had added it back in, I believe, in 2018. We had some individuals from the community that came in and wanted to see us add them in, so we added them in at that time.
Yeah.
I don't remember back when we had previously taken them out. I just don't.
Actually, I think that was before your time.
I knew it'd been a while.
Yeah. Well, it's in page 81 on there about resignation. And it says all regular city employees will be offered the opportunity to participate in an exit interview. Once the letter of resignation has been submitted to the department head, the exit interview will be scheduled and conducted by the assistant city clerk. I still say that is of no value in my opinion. So.
Councilman Walters?
Yeah, to Councilman Crum's point, and I saw that length of training period. I thought that looked kind of odd. I was going to ask the question because it basically says the normal training period is 6 months, but maybe longer or shorter, depending on length. If you're going to add in all that, it's like redundant. Why don't we say what we're really trying to say rather than something that doesn't mean anything? You can make it longer, you can make it shorter, you can have a training period, you may not have a training period. What does it mean?
It means in.
I know what you want to say it means, but I think we need to put in there what we really mean, because the way it is, it's redundant. It doesn't really, you want it for an exception for certain reasons if somebody has experience, and that makes a lot of sense. But the way it's written, it's like, it's mealy, it needs to be
Direct and to the point.
refined. Now, let's say what we mean.
So we can look at that and see if there's an alternative language that would be more direct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Crum?
I know in the past we've tabled this before, but I don't want to stop discussion if anybody has a discussion about it, but is there anybody else that has discussion?
I don't know if this is where you did, but I would like to make I'd like to have the exit interview stricken from the employee manual. So, I don't know if somebody wants to second or not, but I make a motion that we strike it.
As far as, can we make that to be, get a consensus from council, so we're not actually changing the personnel manual tonight, but
Right.
if we get the consensus to do that, then we bring it back on the next council meeting in April and have it removed at that point?
That's fine.
Okay.
If there's a consensus, that's fine.
Is there any other council members for removing the exit interviews?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm all right with it. Is it written in such a way where it's a requirement? I thought it sounded like if the person that's resigning is going to be given the opportunity to participate in an exit interview? Is that how the language
It just
is?
says the assistant clerk will do it.
It's,
says
as
that they
Councilmember Rardon read it, it does say all regular city employees will be offered the opportunity to participate in the exit interview once a letter of resignation has been submitted to their department head. So they will be offered the opportunity to participate.
So you don't have to participate, you just have to be offered the opportunity.
Right.
So it's kind of toothless anyway. I mean,
I'm doing one tomorrow for somebody.
Councilman Crum?
I just take into the fact that I remember we did add it back in, and Will mentioned that citizens came in and asked that that be added back in, and because they don't have to do it, it's an option for the employee. I don't see a problem. If we don't get a lot of good or great information out of it, that's fine, but if we get any kind of good information out of it, then they chose to give that, then I don't think it's hurting anything.
Well, the majority of exit interviews that I've conducted got no worthwhile information, but basically it was a gripe session about the employee and what was going on and whatever wasn't going on, so that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I think right now it's about half and half, so I'm not sure if I have a majority.
Well, it
So-
does sound like we could approve it with the exception of bringing back this issue, and the issue I was talking about is fixing this language in B1, which I would be okay with if we bring those two things back to rediscuss and approve it next time.
A lot of times we table this anyway, so.
We're going to table it anyway?
We usually do,
Okay.
because usually it takes a long time to go through.
Okay.
Yeah, we can definitely table it and just, give Will your questions, until, before the next meeting.
I think
But,
we have my question, right? Okay.
But as far as the exit interviews, we would want the language to be kind of what we want it to be before he comes back with actual personnel manual changes. Councilman Barkley?
Is there any changes to pay or accrual of leave?
So, not at this time. We're in the middle of, we've looked internally and done a salary survey. There's also a salary survey that we're participating with the League of Kansas Municipalities, where we turn in all our information to them. They're getting information from other cities in the state, throughout the state. So we'll have that information back in April, and we'll look to incorporate what we get in there in the budgeting process for next year. And at that point, if we do make any suggestion changes to the pay chart, which I think we are based on the way things are going, then we'd have another personnel change at that time to change the pay chart. But there's nothing in it today for changing the pay chart.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I guess again, who would be for against, or who would be for removing the exit interviews? Anybody else besides Councilman Barton, Councilperson Parton?
I'd like to hear more about it. I think we should table that part.
Okay, so just leave it as is and then discuss it next meeting?
We can do that.
Okay, somebody like to make a motion to table this item? Councilman Benner?
I make a motion that we table this item pending further discussion on the items discussed tonight.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table the revisions to the personnel manual. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Varden?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Parton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
All right, next we have item E, consideration of purchase of drug identification equipment. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight, you have a request to purchase some drug identification equipment. As you may or may not know, we currently have personnel that are assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration Task Force. With that position, there is some funding that's available to us where we get reimbursed for a lot of things due to our participation in the HIDA, which is the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Program. Right now, they're still spending, well, they were still spending the 2020 funds because they're running the fiscal year, and when there's funding involved like that, they're usually spending money out of a previous year. That funding is about to expire, and we have not used all that funding. Currently, there's still some left. We won't be able to use it in personnel. However, it has been transferred over to be able to purchase equipment with. The DEA contacted me and requested for us to purchase the TrueNarc drug identification system. What that does is that enables officers to actually be able to identify drugs with this instrument rather than having to open them and have contact with them or have the potential danger of inhaling anything that might be associated with that. This tool just simply can look through it. I'm not sure how it works. I'm not a science guy, so I can't really tell you exactly how it works, but it can identify the drug without having to actually handle it or open it or put the officer in danger. And Councilperson Parton brought a mess up to my attention when I went and did this. I probably should have changed my wording just a little bit. Down below it talks about we're requesting approval to purchase the TrueNarc device from federal resources for task force use in the amount of $21,612.09. In there I put that the initial funding for the purchase would be out of our law enforcement account. Actually what that is initially we're going to fund that from the law enforcement account, and then we're going to be reimbursed from the federal government with that money that's set aside, that's allocated to the city of Haysville, but we can't spend it directly from there. So we're purchasing it, we'll be reimbursed. So the initial funding will come from us, and then we'll be reimbursed for that, and the item will be used by our task force officer on the task force. So that's what we're requesting. There is only one bid here. Again, because we're being reimbursed by the federal government under these funds, there's a bunch of stipulations that we have to go through to make sure that it fits into their spending guidelines and those kind of things. That's why there's only one bid here. It is the lowest bid from what I've seen. I can't find one cheaper than that otherwise either. So that's where we're at. We're requesting approval to go ahead and spend that money and purchase that item.
Councilman Crum?
My question is, how much more money is there? You said you can move it to equipment. Do we have, I mean, this is $21,000. How much of that money are we going to lose out on if we don't?
I don't have that exact number. That is through the DEA, and I'm not 100% sure of that number. I believe there was a few $1,000s more than that there. At this point, I'm not sure of the exact number that they have, but I know that they told me what we have will cover this purchase.
Okay, or we have somebody that can maybe look at that to see if there's some other equipment out there we could get?
I can ask them. We can potentially ask them and see where that's at.
Okay.
The issue is they contacted me just a couple weeks ago, and this money has to be spent by March 31st, so that's why we're kind of in a crunch to get that taken care of. So, but I will definitely ask the question and see if there is something else or if there's any other items that would assist with this.
Do you know if there's any other departments in Sedgwick County or in the area that's using this device?
I don't believe there's another one in the area. The DEA has some, and other federal resources have those. However, there's none in this area that I know of.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the purchase of the drug identification device as presented for $21,612.09 to be paid back from a federal account.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilman Barkley?
Sir, is it something that is going to be on each police rig, or just here with a detective to where whenever drugs are seized, it gets tested when they get brought in, or is it something like if there's an active overdose happening, then a police officer can respond there and say, yeah, this is fentanyl?
Right. It'll just be one unit. It'll be at the DEA, so our task force officer would be able to come down if we had something that we needed to have identified. It wouldn't be something that would be readily available right there in a patrol car. Again, that's why they're reimbursing us for it. If it was us paying for it outright, it would be housed here and we'd have it available to us all the time. But since they're reimbursing us for it, we're going to assign it to the task force.
Where's the task force located?
In Wichita.
And it's just one?
It's just one unit, correct.
Made for investigations on seized drugs?
Correct.
Okay.
Why is it housed in Wichita?
Since it's a drug force initiative through the HIDA program, it'll be housed in Wichita with our task force officer up there for use by them. They handle a lot more volume in drugs than we would think about down here. So, but because that money was allocated to us, we have to purchase it and then they'll reimburse us for it, and we'll be able to have access to it since our task force officer is up there. And if we have something down here that we need to get identified, we can certainly have them come down and do that for us.
Councilman Barkley?
What do you currently do if you need something identified?
Currently, we use NIC2 kits. In your memo there, it talks about those. Basically, they're reagent kits where you have to open up the substance that you're trying to identify. You have to have an idea what it is first. You open that up. You use it's like a little stick. You get a little bit of the substance on there. You put it inside the kit, break the vials in a certain order, and then shake it for a certain amount of time. And when it turns colors, then you look at the colors and match them to what's on the packet, and potentially identify that. To get the positive identification, you still have to send it to a lab to have it certified for court. You can take that person into custody and run them through court.
Is there a way you can get the true narc here in Haysville instead of up in Wichita?
Right. Again, if we spent that money, if we spent the $21,000, then we could purchase another one and have one here for sure.
Councilman Warden?
I'm not, and Chief can correct me, but I'm not aware that a lot of people don't realize that one of our officers is stationed at the drug enforcement, the way I understand it, in Wichita.
That's correct.
One of our officers. So if there's an investigation or whatever, they call that our officer from DEA in Wichita, and that officer comes down and administers whatever needs to be done. It's not, we call the DEA and they send whoever they got available. We have an officer from the Haysville Police Department that is there that will come down and do the administrating of what needs to be done.
And that's where the funding comes from. We do have the officer assigned up there. The funding comes from, we switched officers a couple years ago. We had one officer up there that had been here a longer period of time and was making more money per hour. So we had a certain amount that was allocated to us for each year when they planned that out. When we switched officers, the new officer that went up there was not making as much as that first officer, so there was a surplus in there. And that's where this money's coming from, that there was a surplus there. This leftover money is now being converted to equipment so that we can purchase this and be reimbursed for it. So yes, that's correct. It's our officer that is employed by the Haysville Police Department that is assigned, that's their assignment, is they're assigned to the DEA as a task force officer.
I didn't know how many people.
Yeah, that's how I started off the memo, but yeah, again, my wording probably was not the best there.
That's good.
Do we have any more discussion? Question, please.
Barclay,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
Varden,
Yes.
Ewert,
Yes.
Benner,
Yes.
Harton,
Yes.
Crum,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item F, 2022 street report and program. Tony?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There's the PowerPoint in your guys' packet, and hopefully it'll be on the screen. There it is. So we'll start with an overview. The street evaluation is performed through a GIS application on an iPad by our street superintendent. Each segment is evaluated. There's a total of 523 segments of pavement that are individually evaluated. You can see there kind of on the map, the little red stars. That's where one segment of road was evaluated. The evaluation includes surface deficiencies and drainage issues. Photos are taken of each pavement segment. You can probably very vaguely see a camera icon on there, but there's hundreds of photos taken of each segment. Next up is the evaluation form. This is the form that is filled out for every segment of road. This is where we select the pavement type. Also, the Payzer rating is assigned to that segment, 1 through 10, 10 being best, and then comments on pavement and drainage conditions. And the next slide. We can also recommend maintenance or rehab, take photos, and this is all stored electronically, so all this data is kind of at our fingertips to make educated decisions. Next slide. This will be the Payzer rating system, 1 through 10. This evaluates the road. You look at road cracks where they are a 1/4 inch wide to 1/2 inch wide, 1/2 inch deep to 1 inch deep. If there is alligator cracking on the surface of the road, is it more than 50% of the road surface or less than 50% of the road surface? So there is a bit of a human element to this, but it's the most scientific way I've seen that's been developed. This was developed by the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Next slide. So a couple of our maintenance options and methods that we use, slurry seal. So it is intended to seal the pavement surface to not allow water to get underneath the road surface. That's really what causes maintenance issues on pavement. It's typically applied to the pavement that has slight to moderate distress. So roads that have little light cracking, smaller than 1/2 inch cracks, that's where slurry seal can be good on. Slurry seal can last up to 5 to 7 years, and it helps to extend the pavement life until resurfacing is needed. Next slide. So this is the slurry seal cost estimate, and I want to point out, estimate, these have not been up to bid yet. These are an estimate. The unit price was provided by a local contractor. But we have about 17 streets in Haysville. These are going to be in the North Timber Lane and Country Lakes area. Those are pretty decent streets, so we need to put slurry seal on them to prevent further maintenance costs on them. So we're looking at an estimated cost of $145,690.16. Our next method of maintenance is mill and overlay. Maybe. Next slide, please. Thank you. So mill and overlay is a structural pavement treatment that involves the removal of the existing surface, in some cases the entire asphalt with the mill machine. The replacement is also usually, like we do it in a 2-inch lift, so we'll usually remove 2 inches of the asphalt, then put back 2 inches of asphalt on top of that. Why do we do it? The mill and overlay restores and strengthens a road surface. It gives it a like new condition. Keyword like new, not new. The process is used when a surface has deteriorated to poor condition. So you do this on a road that has potholes, rutting, severe cracking, wide and deep cracks. So next slide, we have our project estimate for mill and overlay. You can see there is a red line there just between the 6 and 7. The top 6 is what we're looking at for this calendar year for our street plan. And again, this is another estimate from a contractor. We're hoping to get a better unit price than this. But with our estimate, we're looking at just over $484,000. The streets below the red line is most likely what we'll see on our 2023 street plan if there's no changes to our street evaluation. The next slide. So kind of our recommendations and next steps is to approve the street program as outlined. At that point, we'll take the projects, the slurry seal and the mill and overlay, to an RFP for advertised bids. Once we receive those, we'll be looking at bringing them back to you guys for approval at the April City Council meeting. I can stand for any questions you may have.
Councilman Crum?
Tony, in the rating sheet that is the next thing in our packet, we've got actually asphalt streets, Hemp Hill and Baughman are both rated a 2, and they're not anywhere on either one of those things. North Park Drive is rated a 2, and you do have that one on the mill. I was wondering why are we doing this other stuff on streets that are rated 3 if we've got other streets that are rated 2?
So Baughman and Hemp Hill have fairly large drainage issues. We've talked to PC in the past, and that's going to be a total reconstruction. So unfortunately, I guess the answer is we don't have a ton of money to spend on this yearly, so we try to touch as many streets and much of the population as we can. We do know at some point Baughman and Hemp Hill will need to be addressed.
So it'll probably be more than streets when we do those.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it'd be kind of, in my opinion, it'd be something similar like Sunset Fields, to where we delay any street plan to do a project like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? What would council like to do with the 2022 street report and program? Councilman Crum?
Actually, I do have one more question on the cutoff you have on the mill and overlay. Is that because that's what you think we have in the budget right now, or because we have money coming in from sales tax? Is there a chance that we could do 7 through 12 or 7 through 13 or some of those as the year goes on? Or?
So my plan, because of the market is so volatile right now, is we'll call out for a base bid for items 1 through 6 on the mill and overlay, then call out items 7 and 8 as an alternate. So if we get a more than happy unit price and we can do more, we'll have those kind of ready to go. If that answers your question.
Okay, so what you're asking for approval though is just through 1 through 6, but knowing that if there's a possibility we could go further.
I mean, technically, Will, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just looking to the plan that's on paper is approved by you guys, and then we'll bring the bids back for approval at the next council meeting. With that time, we'll know what our unit price is, and then if that plan includes additional streets, then we'll have that for you.
Okay.
Councilman Bitter?
Do we think the price of asphalt is going to go crazy?
Well, there is oil in it. Our last time we did mill and overlay, our unit price was $9. One of the contractors we spoke to for this season said that right now it's looking about 10 or 11, but I would do 15 to be safe. So there's potential, like Councilman Crum stated, if we get a good unit price, we will be adding more. But we feel like there's enough cushion that at the $15 unit price, we'll be able to get streets 1 through 6 done.
I saw that $15 on there. Is that SY, is that square yard?
Yes. And some of the issues, like North Timberlane, you may remember we had some issues with that base or lack of base underneath that asphalt. So this year we cored out all these streets. So that's drilling out a 4-inch hole in the street and then analyzing how much base is down or lack of base. So the streets that do have no base, which there are lots of streets in Haysville that have no base, we will be calling out for smaller equipment. So instead of an 8-foot mill machine, we'll be calling out a 4-foot mill machine in an effort to avoid any base repairs. Don't mean it won't happen, but.
Councilman Crum?
I'll make a motion that we accept the 2022 street report and program and wait on bids to come back.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2022 street report and program. Is there any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Rardon?
Yes.
Ewart?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
All right, next we have item G, the consideration of the cured in place pipe water project, wastewater project.
So we've requested proposals for installing cured in place pipe in the sanitary sewer system. Cured in place pipe is trenchless rehab method used to repair existing sanitary sewer, so there's no excavation required. This helps alleviate any concerns with infiltration and roots. This kind of is my little prop here. So this is more on the residential scale. They're actually starting to do this on residential sanitary sewer. So this is what we call a sock or a tube. This is inserted to the sanitary sewer through the manhole. It's then pulled through, and they use heat and or steam to allow the resin to cure. And you can look at this maybe on the way out if you can't see it, but basically it creates a new pipe inside the existing pipe. So most of our pipe we have in town is clay tile, which was built probably in the 1970s, 1960s. Sometimes you barely touch it and it cracks. So CIPP helps alleviate these issues. This year's project, we're looking at rehabbing approximately 2,833 linear feet of sanitary sewer pipe. I've included maps in your packet of the project areas. So therefore, we are seeking authorization to accept the proposal from Insituform Technologies in the amount of $87,289.50. This is a budgeted item, will be paid out of wastewater contractual.
Councilman Crum?
Just out of curiosity, I know it's a budgeted item, how much should we budget for it?
I think it was 90,000, maybe 95.
Okay, because this is a little bit more than we've,
It's actually a little less. For the last X years, we've done quite a bit, use about 175 to 190. A lot of our clay pipe has been lined. Also with our new dewatering facility online, we're using some of this money to help pay for that. 90 even is what budgeted.
okay. If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve the bid from Institution Form Techniques, $87,289.50 as presented.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the consideration of the CIPP wastewater project from Institute Form for $87,289.50. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Burton?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Harton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Next, we have H, consideration of nuisance abatement provider for mowing.
So we requested proposals to perform nuisance mowing services. H&H Lawn Service was our provider last year. This year's price is the same as last year's. Therefore, I am seeking authorization to accept the proposal from H&H Lawn Service for nuisance mowing services.
Councilperson Burton?
If there's no discussion, I would make a motion, we accept H&H Lawn Services.
Second.
Bid for $100.
Sorry, second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the nuisance abatement provider for mowing as presented. Any discussion? Councilman Crum?
Tony did do a good job last year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Rarden?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Harton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next we have item I, consideration of agreement with the Haysville Swim Club in regards to the use of the pool. This is the same as last year with the exception of the dates. Councilman Grove?
On the second page, section 5, we didn't change that date. It says September 4th, 2021. I think it's supposed to be.
Oh. Yes, I'll make that change.
Okay.
Okay, you're late. Already.
What council like to do? Councilman Bitter?
I make a motion, we approve the agreement with Haysville Swim Club with the correction noted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with the Haysville Swim Club with the changes. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Rarden?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Harton?
Yes.
Crum?
Abstain.
Thompson?
Yes.
All right, next we have item J, consideration of pool pricing for the 2022 season. Same thing, it's the same except for the dates. Councilman Crum?
I make a motion, we approve the pool pricing as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the pool pricing as presented. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Rarden?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Harton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Item K, consideration of temporary special event permit application regarding a baby shower. What would council like to do? Councilman Walters?
I make a motion to accept the proposal for baby shower on September June 18th, as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the temporary special event permit application. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Rarden?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Harton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
All right, next, item 7, department reports, administrative services. Will?
Just a reminder, the Rolling on the Prairie 5K will be on April 2nd at 3 p.m. in Dorner Park.
Next item B, city clerk, Angie.
I don't have anything.
Next C, police, chief.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to introduce our visiting officer this evening. We have Master Police Officer Justin Henke. He's currently assigned to our investigation section as a detective, so say hi to him as you go out there. Also just wanted to remind everybody, we had a few cars get ransacked and gone through over the weekend, so just want to remind everybody, make sure that you lock your doors on your vehicles, make sure you secure your items in there, don't leave purses, computers, backpacks, things like that in your cars. Also, if you see anything suspicious or see anybody that's just out of place, call us. That's what we're here for. We'll come check them out and make sure that they're not up to no good. So, thank you.
Next we have public works, Tony.
So we are ecstatic to say that the contractor was able to construct all the asphalt a few weeks ago in the Sunset Fields project area. So that neighborhood is now open to unrestricted traffic. No more grading of gravel roads for us. The only items that remain are punch list items. So, thank you.
Good.
Real good.
Thank you. Next recreation, Rob.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The Haysville Activity Center will be taking registrations for our Summer Elements Summer Program on April 1st. Pool sales will begin on April 4th, and our annual Easter egg hunt will be April 10th, 3 p.m. in Dorner Park.
Thank you. Next we have item 8, appointments. A, appointment of Marion Daly to the Park Board for the remainder of the term. Councilman Benner.
I make a motion we approve the appointment of Mary Ann Daly to the Park Board for the remainder of the term.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Marion Daly to the Park Board for the remainder of the term. Any discussion? Question, please.
Barkley?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Rardon?
Yes.
Ewart?
Yes.
Benner?
Yes.
Parton?
Yes.
Crum?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Next, item 9, off agenda citizens to be heard. Anybody in the audience that would like to speak to the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to item 10, executive session. We have none. Item 11, review of expenditures. A, summary of February expenditures. Angie will talk about the new format.
You'll notice the format's a lot different. Moving forward, we are going to be presenting the bills from the previous month for you to make a motion to receive and file. We did speak with the auditors, and this is okay with them. Because of how our purchasing policy is, the items will still come before council that are larger than $10,000. So you'll still be approving the items that are required to be approved by council. This is just a different way of doing the reporting. Are there any questions?
Councilman Crum?
What is the purpose for changing?
There's a couple different reasons. The largest would be with moving to once a month bill pay with council, it was causing a huge staff burden. Because of the way our current software works, you can't enter bills while you're entering payroll. So depending on how the month ended, there might be a situation where you're having to put in $600,000 worth of bills within a 3-day period in order to get it out in time for council to look at. So if we adjust it to where you're looking at it after the fact, we can get those reports and get that information to you earlier, or at least with less of a hardship.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Walters?
I think you said that we'd only be looking at things that are 10,000 or more.
Mhm.
What percentage of the bills are that?
I'm not sure on the percentage.
How many a month would we be looking at? A couple, 2, 3?
It would be just like we're handling them now, because it's the same process as what we're doing now. So it seems like we're coming a couple times a month with items from PD and Public Works seem to be the largest items, parks occasionally. But that policy hasn't changed. That's still in place.
I see. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Crum?
So Instead of Pat saying that we're gonna pay the bills for the month, what's Pat supposed to say now?
We would like her to
Who's gonna
say,
help
we would like her to say, I move to receive and file the expenditure report.
Receive and file
Yes, please.
all the bills.
You say the bills from the previous month, or?
February expenditures.
February?
Yes.
Well, this year,
Months,
just
this month.
more,
Last month.
so previous month's expenditures.
Oh, previous